It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage.
For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory.
For a quarter century, the Cardinals have called St. Louis, the gateway city, their home. But in all those seasons, only a precious few have borne much in the way of contending teams, and even fewer that would make the Redbirds heirs to the division crown. But in this silver anniversary season in St. Louis, players such as quarterback Neil Lomax are making believers of a lot of people. The Cardinals are clearly a major factor in the NFC East, but now fans have realistic expectations of their club winning its first Eastern title since 1975. Coach Jim Hanifin has the talent, but to win he'll have to knock off some perennial powerhouses. One of them is defending conference champion Washington, led by their very successful coach Joe Gibbs. 2 straight Super Bowl appearances still make the Redskins the team to beat if St. Louis expects to win the division. And the man to derail is the Diesel, running back John Riggins, the key component to Washington's mighty offensive machine. It's only the halfway point of the 1984 season, but this is a critical game nonetheless. The course of the Eastern Division race is at stake between the Redskin ruling class and the Cardinals, who might be kings. From Busch Stadium, it's St. Louis versus Washington in the NFL Game of the Week. When there's something strange in the neighborhood, who do the Cardinals call? Zone Busters. And they bear little resemblance to Bill Murray or Dan Aykroyd. Nope, they're quarterback Neil Lomax and wide receiver Roy Green, the most deadly deep passing combo in football today. When these two connect, the opposition doesn't stand a ghost of a chance. The Lomax to Green connection clicked for a 38-yard touchdown on the game's very first drive to make it 7-0 St. Louis. And then right afterwards, the Cardinals went from zone busters to wedge busters, sending a few chills down the spine of Washington's ace kick returner Mike Nelms, number 21. The Cardinals were determined to make this afternoon a horror film for their visitors. But after stopping the Redskins on their first 2 possessions, Washington sent the specter of a St. Louis rout to an early grave. Quarterback Joe Theismann spotted wide receiver Art Monk and fired several completions his way to finally get the team moving. From in close, Theismann spotted tight end Clint Didier, number 86, and the game was quickly tied. Despite flags resting in the end zone, the Redskin touchdown stood. And at the end of one period, the 2 Eastern Division rivals were tied. But it didn't take long to change that situation as Lomax stormed back with a dazzling array of passes to other folks, as well as favorite target Roy Green. Green was aided and abetted by the likes of Doug Marsh, Danny Pittman, and Pat Tilley, all of whom made important plays in St. Louis's second scoring drive of the day. Assistance was also rendered by the Redbird running backs. Number 31, Earl Farrell, was a safety valve receiver in the passing scheme. And when pure running was called for, some big yards were picked up by number 32, O.J. Anderson. The drive stalled short of the end zone, but the Cardinals did get a field goal from Neil O'Donohue. The St. Louis place kicker would later play a most significant role in the dramatic flow of this game. He would be a living testament of the peaks and valleys of the day. But for now, his kick gave the Cardinals a 3-point advantage and inspiration for some sturdy defensive work from the Redbird rush. Washington was unable to do much of anything, so they punted the ball away. The recipient was one of the league's most dangerous kick returners, number 30, Stump Mitchell. And Stump quickly showed why his reputation is so richly deserved. Mitchell brought the kick back for 50 yards and a touchdown. But unfortunately for St. Louis, a holding penalty wiped out Stump's effort. Although the Cards had clearly outplayed Washington to this point, this was the kind of setback that had contributed to 5 straight previous Redskin wins over the Birds and 9 wins in the last 10 meetings. When Mitchell's play was voided, the game's momentum shifted radically. The Cardinals still had the ball even though the touchdown was gone. But now the Redskins had rekindled their missing spark that would see them play airtight defense for the rest of the half. The once unstoppable Cardinal offense was now finding the going much rougher. Those first period holes were now replaced by a wall of white-shirted Redskin tacklers. When St. Louis was stopped, the call went out for kicker Neil O'Donohue once again. The field goal attempt was for only 34 yards, yet O'Donohue missed, the first of several squandered chances for St. Louis. This second tough Cardinal break within a few minutes appeared to take some of the steam out of the home team. And Washington's Joe Theismann was quick to respond. Several completions to Art Monk soon had the ball deep in St. Louis territory. But then the Birds began to fight back. First, it was the wrath of the Red Rush. Then Joe Theismann committed a fumble on a 1st and goal play. As the halftime gun sounded, St. Louis recovered and held on to their precarious 3-point lead. But everyone watching this game, as well as its participants, knew such a margin would not stand up for long. And as the third period commenced, Washington attacked with their most basic yet effective weapon, running back John Riggins. With the exception of one passing play, the Redskins ran the ball on every down. Riggins carried 8 times for 40 yards as the Diesel just simply wore down the defensive opposition. From the 2, Riggins piled into the end zone, giving Washington its first lead of the day. It had taken a drive of over 6.5 minutes, but now the Redskins were in command and on the verge of completely changing the texture of this game. In the end, the result would be decided by feet, but not the trampling limbs of Riggins. Instead, it would be the foot of an embattled place kicker who would endure much hardship before a final reprieve. Following his go-ahead touchdown, John Riggins did what he normally does when he's on the sideline. He took in some oxygen, preparing for the Redskins' next offensive series. That came about shortly after a Cardinals fumble, but this time the key plays were provided by Joe Theismann and the passing game. Two short passes set up the final touch, a 7-yard scoring strike from Theismann to Rick Walker, number 88. Walker, usually employed as a blocker for Riggins, got a rare opportunity to catch the ball, and the tight end came through. It was his first touchdown reception of the season, and even though he was wide open, he smothered the ball to make sure that he wouldn't lose it. The Redskins had scored twice in the third quarter, and with just under 5 minutes remaining in the period, they had a comfortable 21-10 advantage. Neil Lomax had a little business to take care of while he waited to get back in the game. And after a satisfying "thank you, Payne Weber," the Cardinals quarterback went to work. A bullet to tight end Doug Marsh got things started. And then with the ball on the Washington 28-yard line, Lomax, avoiding the pass rush, led O.J. Anderson beautifully, and the Cardinals had a sure 6. Not so fast. Anderson played patty cake with the ball, and the sure 6 turned out to be just another incompletion. 2 plays later, Lomax went back to Marsh, and this time St. Louis had the touchdown. Marsh, in his 5th year with the Cardinals, is having his finest season. With the rapid development of Lomax as one of the league's brightest young quarterbacks, Marsh's role in the passing game has expanded, and the sure-handed tight end has made the most of it. His 3rd touchdown of the season cut Washington's lead to 21-17 in period 3. As the third quarter turned into the fourth, the Cardinals' defense needed to take charge. They had been unable to stop the Redskins from scoring in the second half. 2 possessions, 2 touchdowns. And it appeared they would be overmatched once again when Theismann hit Clint Didier in the middle of the field for 36 yards. Didier is used to having outstanding quarterbacks throwing the ball to him. With the Redskins, it's Theismann, of course. In college at Portland State, his quarterback was none other than Neil Lomax. The Redskins did not score a touchdown, however. Following this Theismann to Didier hookup, they settled for a Mark Mosley field goal and led by 7, 24-17. The Redskins are a difficult team to come from behind against, particularly in the fourth quarter. And on the kickoff following Mosley's field goal, St. Louis demonstrated the kind of sloppy football that usually signals defeat at the hands of Washington. But the gusty 10-mile-per-hour wind swirling around Busch Stadium picked up a jet stream named Green, and the Redskins were caught in his frenzy. Roy Jetstream Green blew away the Washington secondary with his second touchdown of the game. This one an 83-yard sprint that left the Redskins gasping for air. Green would end the day with 163 yards receiving, giving him just under 900 yards at the season's midpoint. A missed extra point left St. Louis behind by a point with 12 minutes left in the final quarter. The Cardinals' defense now asserted itself. They shut down Riggins, who had finished with a misleading 98 yards, for it took number 44 32 carries to reach that figure. Washington was forced to punt for the first time in the second half, and when the Cardinals took over, they moved the ball with a nice blend of O.J. Anderson runs and Neil Lomax passes. With just over 3 minutes remaining in the game, Lomax was faced with a 3rd and 15 from the Washington 35-yard line. A gutsy run fell 2 yards shy of the first down marker, but the Cardinals were in position for the field goal that would give them the lead. The man on the spot was Neil O'Donohue, who had earlier missed an extra point, and from 40 yards out, the kicker let it rip. Wide right was the call, and the Cardinals had seemingly blown their final opportunity to defeat the Redskins and move into a tie for first place in the NFC East. The outlook was indeed grim for the Big Red. Washington, with Riggins powering out first downs, runs down the clock as well as any team in the NFL. But it didn't happen that way at all. St. Louis got the ball back with 2.5 minutes left, and Lomax went to work, brilliantly using his receivers and the clock. Completions put St. Louis at the Redskins' 22 with 41 seconds remaining. What a blitz by Washington's linebackers pushed Lomax and the Cardinals back 7 yards and set up the most important down of the game. 2nd and 17 with 33 ticks on the clock. Lomax was up to the challenge. A bullet to Pat Tilley, number 83, was good for 21 yards, and the Cardinals were on the Redskins' 8-yard line. Neil O'Donohue would have a chance to redeem himself after all. With 5 seconds left in the game and St. Louis trailing by a point 24-23, O'Donohue lined up the 21-yard field goal that would mean either victory or defeat. He calmly drilled it home, and the Cardinals had won their 3rd straight. It was another day in the dawning of Neil Lomax, who was on his way to establishing himself as the finest quarterback in the NFC. For the Cardinals, the victory was particularly special. They had now defeated the Redskins and the Cowboys and shared the top spot in the NFC East with their rivals from Washington and Dallas. For Jim Hanifin, the victory meant respect. His Cardinals are serious contenders in a division in which all 5 teams are within a game of each other midway through the season. But the Cardinals are perhaps much more. With consecutive victories over Dallas, Chicago, and now Washington, the Cardinals have quite possibly moved into the position of being the favorite to win the NFC East. It's a role that they will no doubt play with relish, as they point confidently to the second half of the 1984 season. The final from Busch Stadium, St. Louis 26, Washington 24.